Ow.
Hi, everybody. This is Allan Sniffen, and welcome to yet another special edition of Board Reflections.
Here's Board Reflections.
Got a jingle.
Allan, go.
Yes, this Board Reflections is for January 8, 2001. This is the special Gloating, Gloating, the special Gloating edition of Board Reflections, where I gloat over the fact that the Don and Mike show is not on WNEW.
Listen to this. He's thrilled.
He's got sound effects and everything.
He's thrilled.
He's a dentist.
Why do I picture, you ever see The King of Comedy? Rupert Pupkin when he's making the tape?
Yeah.
Ma!
Right.
I'm doing something here.
He's in his
Now,
basement.
Jerry.
He's in his basement
Yeah.
doing his imaginary radio show.
Right.
Hey, but look, we gave him a huge
Look at
audience
that. Now,
today.
now he's got the ear of New York radio.
Of our audience. Here it
you
is.
go.
The rock and roll dentist on Don and Mike.
Yeah, that's right. The Don and Mike show is not on WNEW tonight. And you know why? Because the Don and Mike show is a lousy radio program. Just like I said months ago. Just like I said when Don Geronimo decided to take issue with me on his very own radio show. Just like I told you then, Don, and just like I'm repeating now, your show is not very good. And boy, are we glad it's gone from WNEW.
I do believe he's gloating.
That is some severe gloating.
That's some of the best gloating I've ever heard.
He's thrilled to death.
God, calm down, Alan.
That's great.
Don't you got a patient with some stuff in their mouth waiting for you to come back?
Could you see sitting in the chair waiting, and he's in the back room recording this?
Yeah.
And he comes out all happy.
It's like that scene from The In-Laws with Peter Falk. They finally get back to the dentist's office, and that lady's been sitting there for hours with all the stuff in her mouth.
You know, I don't want to make any implications here, but I do believe he was sucking on some of the nitrous while he was taping this.
Yeah.
He's so happy.
All right, let's move on.
It's so great to be right. It really is. The Don and Mike show is gone from WNEW. The only fear that I have, the only nightmare scenario would be if they decided that the Don and Mike show really is not gone from WNEW, and this is only being done as a publicity stunt to try and get a couple of people to listen to the show.
We have to get him wrong again, jackass. This is not a publicity stunt. The radio chick's firing, not a publicity stunt. Don and Mike leaving WNEW at this time, not a publicity stunt, okay?
No.
Thank you.
That would be of a great disappointment to so many of us. However, assuming that it really is gone, I mean, it just doesn't get any better than this. And you know what happened today to make it even better? Is that the ratings came out today. Don, are you listening to me there, Donnie, old buddy? I know you listen to Board Reflections. Well, just for those who may not be aware of it, the New York City radio ratings came out today, and WNEW in the evening day part, ages 12 plus, the Don and Mike program scored a 1.2. A 1.2 is what the Don and Mike show got on WNEW. I mean, come on, it doesn't get any worse than that there, does it, Donnie, old buddy? A 1.2 for the Don and Mike show. That means that, let's see, a 1.2. I guess, Don, can you do the math? I guess that means that 98.8% are not listening. I said 98.8% are not listening to you.
This guy's out of his effing mind.
That's great.
He's out of his effing mind.
Great. He's so happy.
Can you imagine being his next patient after this rant? Jesus. All giddy and stuff.
Oh, that's great.
There's more here.
And do you think that any of us are going to be even a little bit upset that your Gab Fest is no longer on WNEW? I don't think so, Donnie. I don't think so. And if you think that any of us are going to buy the spin that you're trying to put on this, that you had your show pulled, and in fact it would have stayed on WNEW, then I don't think even we are that gullible. Maybe they believe some of those tirades of yours, some of that whining you do, some of that carrying on that you do. Maybe they buy that in Washington, D.C., and maybe they buy that in East Podunk, Arkansas, on those small AM radio stations that carry your boring talk fest. But in New York, we know better. We know good talk radio from bad talk radio. Oh, and by the way, let me just mention, speaking of good talk radio, the program that Donnie thought he ought to replace on WNEW, the Opie and Anthony show, scored a 5.2 in afternoon drive. And Donnie thought he ought to take his boring gab fest that's getting a 1.2 and move it into afternoons. Oh, Donnie, that really was some good thinking on your I mean, really, Don, come on now. You didn't really think that was going to happen, did you? That your 1.2 syndicated boring gab fest was going to replace the 5.2 that Opie and Anthony get at WNEW?
I can't breathe the
Wow. He is just so happy.
This is gloating.
This is real gloating. I mean, from the second Don and Mike came to New York on this station, Allan has just been on their ass and saying that they will never do well. And when the ratings came out and showed the 1-2, and then they disappear from the airwaves on NEW, he was just giddy. And he made a special. I don't believe I've ever seen a special board reflection. It's like when the news cuts into programming.
Right.
He had his board reflection up for the week, and he had to make a new one just for this, just to gloat. And this is some hardcore gloating, man.
I think we have like 2 more minutes left. Here we go.
You didn't really think that anybody was going to be dumb enough to do that, did you? And that is the reason you're giving as leaving WNEW? Because you didn't get afternoon drive? Because you thought you ought to be able to move into a time shift that clearly you have no way of handling? You mean you tell us that that's what you were going to do and that made any sense at all? Even you, Donnie, couldn't have believed that. That is only spin that you're putting on to try and explain your dismal failure in New York City. If you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. Well, I guess, Donnie, we can conclude that you can't make it anywhere. Just like I said months ago, just like I said when you first got to WNEW, just like I told you in the first place, you weren't going to hack it here. We've heard it before. We've heard 2 fat guys making farting sounds for a long time, Donnie. You had to do a lot better than that to make it work in New York radio. And if you want to try and convince everybody that it had something to do with the fact that you weren't live, then you must think we're really stupid here. It didn't have anything to do with the fact that you weren't live. It had to do with the fact that you weren't funny. You were trying to tell everybody how funny you were, but you're not funny. So what that it's on tape? Either it's funny or it's not. And whether you're recorded or whether you're live doesn't make your boring gab fest funny. It wasn't funny, Don. And that's why you failed. That's why you lost. That's why you're no longer on the air in New York City. Just like I told you. Just like I told you months ago that New York knows better. We know good talk radio from bad talk radio. And Don, you ain't doing good talk radio. So while I know there may be 1 or 2 people who are disappointed that the Don and Mike show was not on tonight, I'm willing to bet that there are hundreds of thousands who are celebrating in the streets, who are shooting off firecrackers, who have a smile as wide as 2 ears can possibly sustain, that are so pleased and happy and excited right now that the Don and Mike show is no longer on WNEW. And Donnie, all I can say is goodbye, good luck, and good riddance. Allan Sniffen saying, remember, you don't happen to make it. You make it happen. And Donnie, you did not make it happen.
Wow. I want to announce right now, Allan Sniffen, middays, NEW.
WNEW.
Oh, my God.